Hey everyone, it's Natalie, and I just had a few quick updates before we get to the meat of the episode and all the tolerating that we do here on To All the Men I've Tolerated Before. So, I hope that you've heard that we have a Patreon, and now we have added a goal to get 25 Patreon members supporting the show. Once that happens, I have some cool perks planned out to release. Spoiler alert, one of them is a pen pal program because I love mail and I love putting stickers on envelopes. So head to the link in the show notes, head to the Patreon, and consider joining us and all the fun we could be having. Also, every Tuesday on Instagram Live at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, we are partnering with Pop Culture Makes Me Jealous to bring you Still Comfy with Jules and Nat. It's a show where we're looking at our comfort TV shows and movies to see if they still make us feel warm and gooey on the inside. So check it out. And I can't wait to see you, whether it's on Patreon, Instagram, or in the DMs. Love you all. Thanks for being here. This is To All the Men I've Tolerated Before with Natalie Katona, the show where my guests and I chat about how men will pick any reason out of a hat to condescend to women. Today is so special because I am reuniting with one of our beloved guests from season 1. You'll recognize Ellen from our episode on sex toys and introducing them to our partners. She's the wildly talented creator of The Slut Show with Ellen Moore. It's so great to have you back.
Thank you so much for having me back. I'm so excited to be here. I'm so flattered by the intro.
Oh, well, I like to butter up my guests before we start talking about things because we have to talk about the patriarchy. God. Feel good at the top, and then we'll talk about the drudgery of it.
Oh, my Lord. I'm here for it.
So you chose our topic today, and it's...
Oh, my God, I guess I did.
About how young women in our society are not taken seriously. So,
oh my God.
What does that overall mean to you?
So when you asked me about if I had a specific topic in mind, I was baked out of my mind. And the first thing, I got to keep it real. And the first thing that I thought of is I've never discussed my age and how ageism is not reverse racism doesn't exist, but judging people based on being too young, hell yeah, that does.
Yeah.
And I won't compare it to ageism of old people. I only have my own experiences, obviously, to talk about. But yeah, it's very real, and I've not been taken seriously in many aspects of my life due to my age, which is interesting to say the very least.
Well, and currently, and we don't have to get into it, but you're in the business of viewing houses and doing the real estate thing. Do you have...
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Are people taking you seriously as someone who wants to own a home?
No, they are not at all. But oh my God, it's insane. So I'm moving out of my current apartment, which was a nightmare to get to this point of moving out. I had 2 court cases, lawsuits, the whole shebang, and I luckily won both cases, which hell yes, thanks to my lovely lawyer.
Yeah.
But now I have to find another place, and even though now I have some money, I still, it's super hard to find a place, and in general, globally, I think the whole housing market is fucked, but in the Netherlands especially, it is extreme. It is insane what the prices are, and what is it like in the States, actually?
So right now it's about the same, and it's kind of not even dependent on where you are. My sister had a hard time in Ohio. I have a friend having a hard time in California. It's just, you go to viewings and you kind of leave, putting in an offer, hoping, even if you like the house or not, you're just let's just put in an offer, because if we put in an offer, it won't go off the market. And by the time you get home, they're like, some corporation offered cash. So,
oh my God. It's insane. That is literally what it is like. It's the same here, more or
Yeah.
less. Basically, I was waiting for this house that I was manifesting it. I had my hopes and my dreams and my everything set on it. Yes. And so I call and they're like, oh yeah, no, I think we called you like 2 days ago. I'm like, you didn't call me because I picked up every phone call I received, but okay. And they're like, yeah, no, someone else rented it. And I had been waiting for 4 days. I'm like, what? Fuck you. I didn't say it, of course,
Right.
but goddamn.
I remember when I bought my condo that it just felt like everyone wanted to walk me through exactly what would happen as if I couldn't conceptualize. I remember the bank guy, like, really just like being almost, you know, how people treat you when they think that you're either moody or unhinged and they're just talking softly. And he
Right.
was like,
Yeah.
so worried to just be dealing with me and trying to make me understand what was reasonable and what was not reasonable. And I was like, you can talk to me like I have a brain. Like, you don't have to talk to me like you're going to hurt my feelings if you give
Yeah.
me, like, this is how much money we can give you on a loan or whatever. Like, it
Right.
doesn't have to be like that.
That is horrible.
It's horrible. And then something that my friend and I just keep talking back and forth about is the fact that we cannot get out of this mindset with our families or people who knew us that we were young, that we are not
Oh my
still
God.
15 years old.
Holy shit, but for real, I feel like people who've known you for years always are stuck to the very first moment they met you. And I'm like, bitch, when you met me, I was a baby. What are you
Yeah.
talking about? I'm a grown woman. I'm an adult. I've been running my own business for 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
I've been managing to pay my bills somehow, even though it's been hard at times, but I managed to. So you can talk to me like I'm an adult. We are equals. If I have a conversation with someone, I want it to be on a basis of respect and equality. And if that's not where we're coming from, it's going to be a hard conversation.
Yeah. And I think, like, in my on my side of things, it's like I understand that when I was a teenager I was hormonal and depressed and unregulated and all of
Of
it, and
course.
I probably wasn't the greatest person to be around, but why am I still
None of
paying?
us were.
Right.
None
So,
of
like,
us were.
I'm still like paying for sins that happened 15 years ago, and they're like, well, we just know that we can't trust you because in 1992 you ate someone's grilled cheese. And I'm like, I don't know. Like,
Oh my God. I remember how my mother would always tell this story of how at every single birthday party they would be like, yeah, and so she was eating sand when she was like 1. I'm like, yeah, that's what you're doing to me now,
you like
family.
you have to watch out for Ellen. She'll just turn around and you'll be eating sand.
Oh my God.
Well, and then the way that we're treated when we're young, as you know, we're trained to be quiet and demure and basically non-consequential in
Hmm.
school, in our lives, now translates into much bigger issues that we experience with where as women, because at any moment someone will decide that we're not smart enough to have ownership of our own bodies.
Absolutely, which is complete insanity. Oh my God, have you done an episode about the whole abortion fucked up situation that's going
No,
on?
we just keep mentioning it every episode. Instead of
Of
doing one
course.
episode of it, we just say it every episode. We're like, here we are once again in an
Vote
abortion.
lefts.
Right.
Hello?
And
Someone vote lefts? Can
yeah,
someone do it in the States? Because I can't do it for you, man.
I
Y'all gotta
mean,
pull up.
it's ridiculous. And it has to go back to this idea that women just can't be left in control of things. We're treated like we're not supposed to be handling money, and yet we're the people who are buying the groceries, paying rent, child rearing, and all of it. But we're.
It's honestly batshit crazy when you
Mhm.
think about it. Like, we can't be left in charge of these things, and we supposedly cannot control our emotions, while every single modern war has been started by a man.
By a
And
man.
then women are the ones who can't control their emotions? I mean,
Well,
fuck off.
and I'm sorry, but I don't think enough men get fragile at other men, because when men are fragile, they are the most volatile people I've ever seen. It's
100%.
screaming, it's kicking, it's punching a hole in your wall. Like,
Like, it's out of control.
It's out
Like,
of control.
really, yeah.
And it's all because we have this idea that being sad or being emotional is a weakness, but being angry is somehow a sign of machismo, and that you're like in charge and ready to get shit done because you're so
What?
mad.
How did we get to that point?
I know.
So someone once told me, like, it doesn't make sense to judge your negative emotions if you were to take being angry or crying, and if you were to say, okay, but when I laugh, I don't judge myself. I just do the laughing and I enjoy it. And so when you cry, have a good cry, enjoy the sadness and get through it. And you're going to come out on the other side being happy again. You know, these things balance each other out, and stop judging yourself for feeling emotions. It's like, it's what we do as humans, right?
Well, and I'm so tired of applauding men for having feelings when every time I have a feeling, someone calls me hysterical.
100%. Like, I mean, yes, good on man to have
Yeah.
feelings, but that needs to be a separate conversation. It needs
Right.
to not be mentioned when we are talking about our feelings.
Mhm.
No, it's not a time for you to speak about yours. It's gotta, what? If you want to talk about men and their feelings, let's have the conversation. I'm super excited to have it, but not when I'm sharing my feelings.
Well, and when I was writing the notes for this episode, I kept thinking about the unwed teen mother and what her life is like in America. You either get to be on MTV on a show called
Oh my
16 and
God.
Pregnant, or so we don't have great sex education in America, so we would never tell a child how to prevent a pregnancy because that would, fix a problem.
Right,
so
right, yeah.
so instead, we're going to make her feel ashamed of her body and ashamed of the fact that she has sexual urges. And then we're going to give her no education. And then when she winds up pregnant, we're going to give her like very limited scopes and condescend to her. And you have no right over your own body. You're taking a lot of opinions from your family, church members, society about what is the right thing to do in this scenario. So they agree that you're too young to make a choice about being a mother or having a baby, but they're also going to
Mhm.
force you into it.
Which honestly, I saw this post. Wait, I'm trying to look it up. Wow. Multitasking. Women are supposedly able to do that. I don't know how to, but I don't understand why people without uteruses keep making rules about people with uteruses. Isn't
No.
it up to people with uteruses to decide that shit? Hello? What? Huh?
And and I literally just don't understand where these viewpoints came from. Like someone read a book badly and was
Uh-huh.
like, a man named Jesus said this and this is how we should all behave. And it's like, I need to know your reading comprehension score before I just decide that your interpretation of this book is the right one.
Oh, hell no. My goodness. Oh, see, I found the quote. Okay, so this Catholic piece of shit, like, I'm sorry, man. I got it. He
Yeah.
said, and you'll agree with me once I said
Mhm.
it. Um, they are, I need to translate it to English as well. They are pretending as if women are in charge of their own body and about their own how do I translate this correctly? Wait, let me Google Translate because this is too good not to share. Wait, cut it so that it sounds the same. Oh, like the no, not the impregnation. Well, the part of like the semen and the egg, having a
Oh,
party together, and
yeah, fertilization.
the fertilization. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so people discuss women as if they are in charge of their own bodies, while really their fertilization, their sexuality, and the children in her uterus are actually not you to decide about. It's not up to women to decide about that, because as soon as there's a child, you are no longer in charge. A woman should not be allowed to decide about that.
But
Excuse me, what?
she'll have to make every other choice for that child once it starts to breathe air outside of her body.
Because this dude, who said this, is definitely not going to make those decisions for the kid. So what is he talking
What
about?
is he talking about? That
Oh
brings
my
me
God.
That brings me to my next point. I don't know what it's like when you go to the doctor, but when I go to the doctor, no one believes anything I say.
Well, I think it's good you asked me this question because I have a story for you.
Go for it.
So, I grew up in a household of domestic abuse, and so I've always, from a very young age on, had very like a lot of complaints to my body because if a child is I'm intelligent, I'm not ashamed to say it, and so that compensates for a lot of sharing those traumas, opening up about them, and you find ways to cope and function so that you're still functioning without literally dying to the abuse emotionally.
Right.
And so I had like obstipation, but like really bad when I was a kid. I had fiber disease. I have had migraines and headaches for years and years and years, and I've been taking meds for them for forever. But the process of finding a doctor who could actually diagnose what I have and give me proper medication literally took me 4 entire years of going to the hospital, going to the emergency room, going to this, to that, and so forth and so on. And eventually I was put on, like, I swear to God, I think it was the 12th med we tried. And I was 14 by that time, which is insanity. And finally something started working. It was in the period from my 10th year to like my 16th year, more or less, that we were looking for this, but I was not taken seriously anywhere. And I think it's in and of itself very problematic that these people, even though my caretakers were at those appointments even misbehaving, I don't understand why they didn't realize that, firstly, that was the reason this was all going on, which they should have taken. No matter how young a kid is, you need to take them apart from the problem and just ask them straight up, hey, what do you think it is, without having other people interfere.
Right.
I think that in and of itself is problematic, but like as a woman not being taken seriously, it's happened to me my entire life.
We don't treat children like people, like actual humans who have brains.
Absolutely.
We just don't do that. But my current struggle is that I know that I have something in my brain that presents itself an awful lot like ADHD. And now I think I'm battling the fact that ADHD is the trendy diagnosis right now because everyone got onto TikTok and decided that they have ADHD. But I combat that all the time with, well, we don't diagnose women with anything. We have no parameters for anything when it's a woman experiencing autism, ADHD,
100%.
At all. All of the markers are done with adolescent or younger men.
Right. 100%, which is insane because you're not representing half of the population. It's not like 1%, 2%, maybe 10%. It's half of the population you're talking about. They're just not doing any research to. It is batshit crazy.
It's ridiculous. And then going back to no one taking anyone seriously, if I don't have a piece of paper that says, yep, I have ADHD, I was right all along about what was going on in my brain. No one, people who love me, people who work with me, all of it, no one wants to actually accommodate how anyone's brain works because that's more effort for them.
Which I just don't understand, because down the line, if you were a manager of someone and they come to you saying, hey, if this were adjusted in this and this way, down the line, it's going to earn you more money. Because that's down the line what it's about. If you accommodate those needs and if you like give a hand and help and just, be a human to another human, and I just don't see why they don't do it.
Well, because here in the capitalistic hellhole that is my society, if you have to take one step and think about productivity too much, then it's not actually productive.
Oh my God.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And so no one, so then you're in this constant situation where you know what's going on in your body. Like, you knew what was going on in your body the entire time you were experiencing it. And you're
Yeah.
trying to explain it to other adults being an adult, and they're just like, do you think it's just like a byproduct of your depression? Well, I probably am depressed. Depression, like being a woman in America is depressing, but
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I could be both. I feel like it could be depression and my brain short
Right.
circuits out. And then the consequences of that are
Mm-hmm.
also depressing and anxiety inducing.
Right. But I don't like, there's multiple options at once. It's not like either this or that. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
it's all of it. Maybe all of your complaints have a different diagnosis. Like, doctors nowadays don't actually look at people as a whole.
Yeah.
They look at people as symptoms, and they don't treat diseases, they treat symptoms, and they
Right.
don't they only give diagnosis to give you meds, which the medical pharmaceutical industry earns money from, and those things are all combined. And we need to start putting huge fucking question marks to those things, because it is clearly not working
At all.
at all.
And it's just ridiculous to be sitting there very plainly saying, like, I've just tracked my body's responses to all of these things, and have someone go, well, that's cute. Like, I think people, I think our society has just accepted that women's life is pain, and we go through pain every day, and part of that pain makes us stressed and depressed. And
It
therefore,
enrages me. They recently discovered, and they only recently discovered this, which in and of itself is a massive problem, that period pain can be more painful than a heart attack. We're talking about a heart attack here.
Yeah. And they just go sit at this computer and write your emails while you're having a heart attack.
What's the problem? You're just in a little bit of pain. Like, if someone's having a heart attack, I'm trying to save their fucking lives, and I'll send them home or to a hospital or someplace, but not to just suck it up and sit behind your desk and survive. No.
We have to get past that. No, the heart attack thing also just like broke my brain. I was like, are you kidding me?
But it made so much sense to me. I was like, oh, now I understand.
Well, and think about the qualifiers that they use to describe women who have a hard time concentrating. Flighty, quirky, like unpredictable,
like impulsive.
Right. They sexualize all of the symptoms that we have for the mental illnesses that men just get to be diagnosed with.
But it is so strange, because how did they ever think, like, I understand that men and women are sort of like in a far universe kind of related to each other, but which is interesting, by the way, because I think that absolutely, like, I don't kill me on like spitting horrible facts, but like there is still a certain amount of weeks in the uterus, men and women develop exactly the same. So I understand that it's easy to think, hey, but they're super similar, if we test men, women will also probably have something like that. But our bodies are structured differently, our organs are different, like it's in slightly different places in our bodies, and those are not details.
Well, and also by the time that you're diagnosing things like autism or ADHD or any of it, you're around the age of 9, you've already been indoctrined into the school system for 4 years, and women and men are treated very differently in our school system. Like, little girls are told to, like, fold your hands, and if you have a hard time concentrating, like, read a book or something. Like, we're told to be quiet. And then boys flip tables, and they're like, oh, that one needs meds. Like,
right, yeah. But that, like, those things, I'm gonna do an episode on this on the Slut Show as well, so maybe it's out by the time this comes out. I don't know, to be honest. It's about ADHD as well, and I've also, like, looking into this, I'm like, oh shit, yes, I think I do have ADHD. So I'm in the process of getting diagnosed, which was also interesting, because I called my doctor. I was like, hey, yeah, I have these and these symptoms, and I think it might be ADHD. Can I get tested for that? And so she literally said, yeah, well, they can also be symptoms of other things. So I think it's better if you don't get tested. And I said, okay, well, I want to get tested. So can I get tested? And she's like, yeah, well, how about you talk to this person? And if they think you have ADHD, maybe you can get tested. And so, guess what? I talked to that person and they think I might very likely have ADHD. And what is happening now? I'm getting tested. What the fuck?
What the
Just
fuck?
test me straight away. God, if I ask to be tested for something, test me.
Why do I have to walk in with an army of 5 people to be taken seriously?
Why do I have to beg for a medical procedure?
Why?
Like, for a test. Like, it's not even like getting my legs chopped off. Like, that I understand you're not gonna do, but like, I'm asking for a literal test. It's just filling out fucking questions.
I just wanted to take a survey about my own brain. I just want to
That's all.
Yeah.
I just want to take a little survey about my brain. I'm not asking you to chop off my head. Just a little survey. Can we?
Every time I hear that a woman has had an elective hysterectomy or that a doctor signed off on a hysterectomy for like period pain or something like that, I'm always like, congratulations, because I can't imagine how many people you had to talk to convince that your uterus was no longer serving you.
Right. Which is insanity. Like, I don't understand how doctors are even allowed to say, no, we don't want to do that because your future man might want to have children with you. How are they even allowed to ventilate such opinions? Because it's an opinion at that point. It's not medical advice. It's an opinion. And they are also a product of this society that is based upon no. Women are children factories, which we're so much more than that.
The third location that I know that I'm never taken seriously in is just any workplace. You can pick one.
Which is interesting because, like, I wish I had the confidence of a middle-aged white cis dude because they just, they just walk up to place. They're like, yes, I should get this job. And I'm like, okay, why? I don't have any qualifications, but I should get the job. And I'm like, good for you. I love the confidence. I love it. I wish I had the same amount of confidence. But yeah, no, 100%. You don't get taken seriously at workplaces.
And eventually you're treated like everyone's administrative assistant because they all just think that we should be secretaries.
Right. 100%. You don't get the same job opportunities. You don't get the same opportunities at even interviews. You don't get the same opportunities at growing into a management position because there's always a man who is more qualified. Honey, that's not qualification there.
No. One time, this is how qualified my supervisors used to be. One time had a supervisor walk into my office and he needed to make a catering breakfast order from Panera. And I had, for one of our other community events, an order saved that would at least get him started on this order. And he was like, what's the login for our Panera? So I gave it to him. And then he's like, okay, can you just walk me through how to order Panera online? And I was like, I have a saved order. Do you just want to look at that one? He's like, but I think I want fruit trays too. And I was like, then you just add fruit trays to it. And I had to sit there and search orange juice for him and then like present him the jugs of orange juice picture. And he'd be like, yeah, I guess 3 of those. And then I had to click 3 for him.
What? But I just don't have words for that.
Right.
But it happens so often. I find myself in these situations clicking on the orange juice buttons for men too constantly. I'm like, how did I end up here? How did this happen?
My favorite is when they hover over you for a confrontation they've made you have that they didn't want to have, but they also don't trust you to do it. This is Natalie Katona, host of the podcast To All the Men I've Tolerated Before. Are you a business owner that would like to start advertising on podcasts and want to work one-on-one with the podcast host to craft the perfect message for your business on an episode? Well, you're in luck. I'm a one-woman operation, and I have ad space open on future episodes of To All the Men I've Tolerated Before. If you are interested in learning more about booking an ad with our show, please email me at menI'veTolerated@gmail.com. Thanks, and I can't wait for our future collaborations. So I love when a supervisor will type out exactly what an email that I should send someone should say. And sometimes I really do just want to copy that person onto it and be like, see email below, and then reach out to my supervisor. Because,
but rightfully so.
If you had enough time to walk me through how to write down that someone needed to pay a fee, then you had enough time to just write that email to that person.
Right. And I think it's like, I understand that as in a management position, you need to, give those who work for you like things to do and stuff. And I understand that sometimes it's more convenient. But if you're writing an email that's like 3 times as long as writing the mail yourself, it just doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. But yeah, in the office, one time, the same supervisor who couldn't order Panera, which by the way, we've made ordering catering so easy. There are pictures and like you just have to be able to count and all of it.
Yeah.
He needed me to call someone on his behalf because they were late turning something in. So I was like, yeah, I'll get to that. And he goes, no, I want you to do it now. And then he hovered over me while I called the person. And I was like, hey, it's Natalie. And they had me call this person because I was the only person who had never like yelled at this person and made him cry. So they were like, well, maybe Natalie will get somewhere with them. I was like, hey, it's me. I just wanted to see, did you do that packet? Because it was due yesterday and we're getting stressed about it. And he's like, oh yeah, I'm going to sit down and do it right now. I go, do you want me to be on the phone with you while you do it in case you have any questions? No, I don't want to waste your time. I'll just go ahead and do it and I'll send it in to them by the end of the day. And I was like, cool, thanks. And I hung up and my supervisor was like, I just really feel like you could have been more stern. I have no skin in this game.
What?
Like, I can't actually do anything to this person except give them a gentle reminder that you're irritable.
Honestly, the problem is not the person who did it late. Like, I understand that you need certain things done at certain times, yada, yada, but why is it always men telling women what to do? It drives me insane.
And a lot of the reason why I had to bow out of my last job was because I was like, I can't work for men anymore. And I for sure cannot work for men who don't know what they're doing and just keep us in a constant state of floundering and then told us that we all did a good job.
Who accidentally landed the position.
It's ridiculous. And I think when I think about this issue that because here's the thing too, I'm not even that young anymore.
How old are you?
I'm 33.
Okay.
How old are you?
That's it. So I had to think about that way longer than I should have probably. I'm 22. I'm turning 23 in August. So by the time this airs, yes, I'm proper young.
You are proper young. You are actually the voice of authority on this.
I know, right?
Also, how the hell are you 22 or 23? You are such a distinguished professional. You should see the 22-year-olds around here.
Well, I think it's a trauma.
It's always a trauma.
It's always a trauma.
A very mature 23. It's like,
oh my God.
What's wrong with you? It's like, I've had to fight for every thought that I've ever wanted to have.
Yes.
That's what's wrong with me.
Yeah, 100%. And like, but this is interesting because since like I moved out of my the house I grew up in when I was 17, and that was all like a very dramatic event happening. It didn't go with friendly, hey, can I move out? Yes, you can. It was quite the shit show. And you know, moral of the story being I've been self-sufficient ever since and looking for my own houses, etc. And in the process of that, I was not taken seriously so many times in
Mhm.
like searching for a house, in searching for a job, in searching for like going back to university, finishing my school, finishing my degree, etc., etc., etc. And I understand that when you're young and when you're like 17, you don't know how the whole world
Mhm.
runs, but by not taking someone seriously who's had serious trouble and who's had serious traumas, who isn't stupid and
Right.
who is trying to make the best out of the situation, like the worst thing you could possibly do is not take them seriously because you're going to disregard their feelings.
Mhm.
And if anything, it's going to make them feel worse. So why don't we just, from the get go, always say, okay, whoever they are, whatever their age is, whatever they've been through, whatever they want to do with their life, let me take them seriously in what they want to say. And as soon as you've had the conversation and you've taken them seriously and you decide, okay, I don't want to take them seriously anymore, good for you. Do whatever the heck you want.
Right.
But just begin with a point of taking someone serious.
Yeah. It's honestly that simple. It's just called empathy. Like, you meet people where you're at, and I think the hardest transition is actually being out of school where everyone kind of had a hand in your day because like teachers were
Right.
overseeing you. If you had a meltdown or a thought or anything, someone was addressing it.
Mhm.
So you're used to being heard in some sort of way. But yeah, I think it's so ridiculous because, okay, you just said that you're about to be 23 years old and that you've been running your own business and working for yourself for 6 years, which means that the moment that you were 17 and moved out, you were like, I'm just going to do this on my own.
Yeah,
And you
basically.
were more than capable. And I think it's just so disrespectful to sit in a room with people and them just make a baseline judgment of like, well, what could she know?
But like not even that, like the it's even it's worse
Hmm.
because they're like, oh yeah, but you're 22, you're still made out of rubber and magic, what can you know? And like they say it into your face. They literally, I've been told by, of course, men
Hmm.
who were like, oh yeah, but you're 22. That's cute. Like, oh, it's so cute. We don't have to take you seriously if you're 22. That's you're a kid. I'm like, I probably have been through more than you have. So, like,
Hmm.
fuck you rigorously.
Also, why is the gut reaction to demean me where if you actually think that I've made a misconception based on my youth or lack of experience or anything, wouldn't you just want to explain that to me
Right.
or ask me some leading questions to see how I got there? Like,
Exactly.
why are we always just shutting down people instead of having conversations with people?
We need to talk more, but also listen more. And
Hmm.
maybe that's the most important one of all. I think that, like, how maybe being young and having done a lot and having achieved things, regardless of what they mean in like society, um, whatever your history is, like it gets, especially men have noticed, if I tell them where I am in life, what I've done, what I want, they take me seriously up until the point where I say my age, and they're like, no, that can't be possible. And I honestly think that they are just so, it's hurting their fragile egos to
Hmm.
realize that there's people who are more ambitious, there's people who are more driven, there's people who are willing to work way harder than they are, and that just intimidates them.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think that's where it comes from.
Well, because if your baseline is I'm male and I'm white, so I'm deserving, and
Hmm.
then someone comes in and goes, well, guess what? I can do 10 times as much as you in an hour. I can accomplish what you accomplish in one day, in an
Mm-hmm.
hour, because I've been forced to hustle my
Right.
entire life to prove myself, then they're all like, but I'm deserving. And it's like, well, who really is more deserving in this situation?
Yeah. Whoa. Well, yes. That's the real question,
Hmm.
truly.
Yeah. And I think that's why currently we're living in a world that is bananas. And every day you wake up and some other dumbass decision has been made. So, as you know, we have a violence issue in our schools in America. And
No, you have a gun control issue.
we have a gun control issue. Yes. And instead of, and it just happened in Texas. So what was Texas' response? Thoughts and prayers. And then a week later, they're like, you know what's the real problem of Texas? Drag queens.
And like, how is it allowed to own more guns than dildos?
How?
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 Just how?
I,
In what worlds do we live where dildos are a problem, but guns are not?
well, and I truly believe that I'm in some like whiplash dick measuring contest where it's like, oh my gosh, a woman or a drag queen or a non binary person or a person of color, they might at some point make more money than me, be smarter than me, any and all of it. So I'm just going to lash out right now and make them feel small so I get
Right.
to stay big.
Let's make insane rules. Let's go fucking crazy
Yeah,
and not even be ashamed for a second.
yeah.
And just say, okay, you know what? Women, fuck your uteruses and what's in them. You cannot decide if you want to keep the kid or not. It's about deciding. It's not
Yeah.
about pro-life or anti-life. It's about deciding. I think I had a really good quote about this. Wait, let me see. I have it in a second. It's about decisions. It's not about if whether or not you are pro-life. It has
No.
nothing to do with being pro-life.
Because if you were pro life, all of the children in America would be fed
Thank
and
you.
be in a good school. So
Hooray. Amen. The whole thing.
because
Everything. Oh,
all of the schools would be good schools.
exactly. And like the decision whether or not to bear a child is central to a woman's life. It's central to our well-being, our
Yeah.
dignity. The like if a government tries to control those decisions, we are just treated as if we are less than a full adults,
This is that.
responsible for our own choices.
Yeah. And this is what I love about the very incessant need that if a egg is implanted and fertilized, it has to become a child that will walk this earth. Yesterday, I was telling a friend that my sister was bemoaning the fact that she doesn't have a community pool. So when people aren't inviting her over for hot girl summer shit, she can't just go pay $7 to sit at a pool. And my friend said, she goes, well, here's the thing. We tried to build a community pool, and she goes, and all of the money hungry people were like, why would we invest a pool into the neighborhood? Why would we have to pay for that? And it's like, well, because you made us have all of these kids. Can they go somewhere for summer?
Right. You're forcing the kids to be born into a world that tries so fucking hard to bring them down.
Yeah.
Like, how about we better the world before we bring even more children into this world?
I love when people get really upset and angry because a skate park is going to be built. They're like, a skate park. What kind of neighborhood are we living in? I go, well, here's the thing. If you don't pour concrete into a ramp so that the skateboard kids have a place to do their recreation, then they're going to be skateboarding up and down your sidewalks, and then you're going to be more pissed because now you have
Yes.
to see them.
Yes, exactly. Like if you try and hide them, they're gonna be annoying because they need to have a place to go, right? They
Mm-hmm.
can't skateboard in their houses because their parents will go fucking insane.
Yeah. Make it make sense. That's what I keep commenting on everyone's social media. One of my friends posted, and it was like,
Such a good one.
so let me get this straight. If I didn't want to have student loans that were going to cripple me and never make it so I could make a decent amount of money monthly, then I should have gone immediately into the workforce and skipped college. But if I'm working a blue collar job and I'm making less than $9 an hour on that blue collar job and I still can't afford groceries, well, then I should have gotten an education so I could have gotten a better job. Nope. It's not a labor problem.
It doesn't make any sense.
It does
Right
not
now,
make sense.
right now the rules for like loaning from the government as a student and stuff are, it looks like they're going to change. I'm not completely updated on what it's like and everything, but what I do know is that when I decided to take a loan as a student, I was I think 19 tops. And so and I don't want to take 19-year-olds not serious, but when a 19-year-old decides to take a loan, being told that she doesn't have to pay any, what is it called? Like the percentage
Interest.
extra.
Yeah.
Yeah, interest, exactly. I was told, okay, you can loan this money and you can take 25 years to pay it back and you don't have to pay any interest. And I was like, fuck it, let's do it. Yeah. But now they are deciding that, whoops, we need to pay interest. And that doesn't start now, that starts all the way back. So when I took the loan thinking I didn't have to pay interest, like if I would have known this, I wouldn't have done it, because I don't want to have that kind of financial obligation begging on my legs. But then again, if I weren't going to take it, we have the exact same scenario that you just described. So they're not making like options. And like what's even worse, they are telling these children like, hey, here you have money, you can loan it. But then afterwards, they're changing the rules. You can't say, hey, you want to participate in the game, and then while playing the game, you change the rules. It's just not how it works.
No, it's predatory, is what it
100%.
is.
Yeah, 100%.
Predatory. I can't get random packages in the mail anymore because I'm convinced it's my handmaid's bonnet. Because I didn't think that a print and t-shirt set my friend Annie designed were going to get here as soon as they did. And when I opened up the mail and saw a surprise package, I was like, here it is. Here's my bonnet and my red cloak. And or maybe I'm a Martha. I don't know. They're going to be sorely disappointed when they find out I can't cook.
Oh, Lord.
Because it just keeps getting scarier. And we have to stop allowing one person's tantrum to be the lay of the land.
Absolutely. What I just thought about, because last complete subject change, but last episode I was on, we talked about sex toys and introducing them to your partners. And I was interested in seeing how have you tried it thus far? Do you have an update?
I do not have an update because I haven't had a partner since you and I have talked.
Well, good for you.
Thank you. I am in this current dating mindset where I'm not really seeking it out because I have so much else going on. And I'm also not very happy with where I'm living. So it's like, why try to invest even more in an environment that is no longer bringing me joy?
Hell no. Not the right time for you.
Also, there is one update, though. I've decided that I will no longer only be choosing from men as my partners. I'm going to widen my dating spectrum because I've decided that it's internalized misogyny and Catholic bullshit that's never made me think that I could consider it.
Yes, do it. Get yourself some hot-ass lesbians.
Yeah, anything
and
everything at this point. Like, just as long as you're chill. Because I'm also tired of just, like, thinking, like, why is it that I've never been emotionally or mentally invested in a man, but that's who I'm spending all of my romantic time with?
Right. No, good for you for choosing that. It's dope. It's super liberating. I can imagine.
Yeah. But
That's
I
awesome.
appreciate you for checking in. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Right now, all I do, I'm not house hunting because it sounds awful, but I do look at Zillow and I look at other places to be living and I try to figure out how much money I would have to make to live there.
You got this. You
Yeah.
got this. I keep telling myself that too.
Yeah. Well, next week, our episode drops and it's called Being Mid in the Midwest. And I'm very afraid, but also eager to see how the people in my life currently, if they actually are aware of how unhappy I am living where we're living.
Wow, that's going to be so interesting to see how your people are going to respond to that.
I know, if they even listen.
That's that's what I always say too. But like my current partner, last time we spoke, it wasn't my partner. He now is.
All right. That's lovely. What a great update.
Yeah, right. You're right. It's now the not just the temporary partner, but the partner. Okay. Yeah. I completely lost what I was gonna say. What? I was in the middle of my sentence.
Was it about listening to the podcast? Because we were talking about
oh yes. He doesn't listen to the podcast, to my podcast. He doesn't check anything, and I'm honestly happy about that. Like I sometimes say like, okay, watch this or watch that, and then he always does, but it's better because he got to know me and he didn't watch anything online, and I really, really appreciate that, because if people binge like every episode of the Soul Show and then they want to date me, I don't think I would want to date me if I listen to the whole everything.
I think I would want to date you if I listened to the whole thing, because you do a fucking lot for that show. You produce
I do
YouTube cartoons and you run around Amsterdam asking people questions on the street
about their sex lives.
Like a sex field reporter.
Right. That's so much fun, but it's so fucking disastrous to find people who are willing to, firstly, in the Netherlands, speak English. Secondly, are willing to talk on camera. Thirdly, want to discuss their sex lives on camera.
I know.
It's quite the taboo.
Well, you make it look very easy.
Oh, thank you.
But yeah, there are certain people that I scare away from listening to the podcast. My father is one of them, because he has asked when we started the second show and when I started to get more people involved who wanted to turn it into something that would be lucrative. He's like, well, maybe I should start listening and watching your live show. And I was like, oh no, you don't want to. And he's like, why? Is it, do you talk about me? I was like, oh no, it's not that. It's just, Dad, it's an entire show about the men who have penetrated me. And I just don't know if that's what you want to spend an hour listening to.
I understand why you're scaring him away from it, though, completely.
Yeah, especially because, and I'm sure it's very much the same in your life, even when men love you, anything that you do wrong can make them very fragile and just wipe out their entire opinion of you.
Yeah.
And I just don't want to deal with it.
Right. Yeah, no, I completely understand. I must say that I'm at a point in my relationship that I feel safe enough to share everything, which is great. But I definitely relate to what you just said a lot with every single man I've ever had in my life, really. 100%.
Because the podcast is serving its purpose on being a safe space for people to actually say their truth and how they're feeling and what they're experiencing. And I would hate for my truth to get clouded up into someone being like, that's not even how I remembered it at all. Well, that's fine, but you weren't in my brain or body experiencing it. And then for that to imprint an impression that I should calm my ass down, because I'm not going to calm my ass down.
No. 100%. I completely agree with that. And I relate to that so much too, because like having a podcast, discussing subjects that are really close to your heart, because like we produce this ourselves, we do this ourselves, we come up with the subjects, we come up with we do this ourselves from scratch. So when it's something you're so passionate about, it's your baby. You don't want people, like, you wouldn't let a pedophile near your baby. Similarly, I'm not eager to let misogynists near my hyper intersectionally feminist talk show. Like, I'm just not interested in that because it's not going to go well, and I'm not interested in the conversation. Just screw your misogynistic ass.
Right. Well, because I don't know if this happens to you, but men will try to come onto my podcast based on the title alone, and then they'll be like, I just really feel like you should have a man's perspective about all of the ways that they've been hurt by women and how we've had to tolerate women. And I'm like, cool.
No.
Feel free to start your own podcast. If you would like to be a man on this show who talks about how misogyny and the patriarchy affected you and gave you bad mindsets or behaviors or got you into some ridiculous situations,
then you're welcome.
There it is. You are welcome. But if you just want to use my platform to disregard everything that I've built, you can kindly fuck off.
The audacity. The audacity. And people tell me, yeah, but you never have white, able-bodied, cis, heterosexual men on your show. And I'm like, yes, because they're everywhere else.
Right.
I don't want them.
Because you can literally watch them anywhere else.
This is not the space for them.
At
and
all.
If that's something that hurts their feelings, then they have something to work about. It's not my problem.
And I think, especially you being 22, going on 23, and me being a late in life artist, to get people to take this seriously and not just to view it as like, look at this cute thing that you think is successful.
If like, cute is a word you describe someone's passion with, you need to check yourself and find some new vocabulary, because cute is so demeaning. It's so belittling. It's just it just tires me.
I have family members who say, like, when I go, are you going to listen to this episode because your friend is on it? They'll go, why would I listen to an episode? I get to talk to you every day. And I was like, well, because it's not just me telling people about breakfast. It's me trying to infect social change.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to do the work.
For me, it's the same when I send someone an audio, like I always send audios on WhatsApp. And so when I send someone an audio and they call me, they're like, yeah, you can tell me, right? And I'm like, I just sent you a 4-minute audio explaining every single detail. Do you mind listening to that and then calling me back?
No, people don't listen. All right. Well, we are rounding up on that hour, so we do have to do our 2 traditions. What do you think has been your biggest takeaway and lesson learned about yourself as you've been a 22-year-old trying to navigate a world that doesn't take you seriously?
That the only way to get through it is to just say fuck it to everything that comes your way.
There it is.
There it is. There we have it.
There it is. The lesson is you can't actually give brain space over to how people fucking feel.
100%, yeah.
Yeah. I think one of the hardest lessons I've had to learn because I have control issues is that you don't actually get to control how people feel about you.
Oh my God, that's such a big one.
You get to be yourself, and maybe they love it, and maybe they hate it, but you actually have nothing to do with that.
Right. That is so hard to come to terms with.
Well,
but it's 100% true.
Yeah, and we live in a world where you are consistently told if you do everything right, then everything will go okay. But you have
to. But that's not the case.
No, because I have been in many a relationship where I was like, I've done everything right, and I just don't understand why you won't return my phone calls.
Right. Yeah. 100%.
100%. What do you think is your biggest manifestation for the collective energy going forward when it comes to young women?
I hope they give zero fucks about other people's opinions. I hope they do whatever sets their soul on fire. They chase their ambitions and pursue their passions. I just want young women to feel like the sky is the limit, because up to a certain degree, it really is.
Yeah. I think my hope is that more women get placed into places of power, because something really interesting happened to me recently where an older woman saw a lot of potential in me because I mimicked her when she was younger.
Mm-hmm.
So she's now investing in me. And I feel like the more women who are in a place of power to
Right.
invest in young women and actually see their
100%.
potential.
Yes.
And then the partner to that is the women who are in charge cannot be playing the man's game. We can't just continue being women in charge doing it the patriarchy way. Like, you have to
Right.
give back that power to our community.
Right. Totally.
Yeah.
You have to, if you're in a position of power, because everyone has a position of power in some place of their life, use it to your advantage and use it to other people's advantage.
Right.
Teach them about the things you know and share your knowledge, because it is not them or you. It can be all of us who can be successful.
There it is. It can be all of us. Maybe that's a sticker too. It can be all of us.
It can. It really can. It's kind of like Obama. So
yeah. Ellen, I know that we don't talk very often, but I love when we do check in with one another.
Completely mutual. I do too.
I know that we are so busy trying to change the world and the circumstances around us. So whenever I think to message you, or I look at my phone and you have messaged me, I'm like, hell yes, I've gotten to connect with Ellen today.
Right. Yeah.
So
it's life.
Yes, it's just life. So always know that you have a big piece of my heart with you always.
Likewise.
Make sure to remind the tolerators where they can find the Slut Show and everything Ellen Moore.
All right. So definitely follow us on Instagram at The Slut Show with Moore. We recently launched 2 entire seasons of The Slut Show with fresh episodes with amazing guests. Check those out. And we are now hitting the streets in several cities, not just Amsterdam, soon Milan, soon London, asking people about their sex lives and all kinds of other things relating to intersectionality. So yes, I'd love to see you over on my Instagram, YouTube, or social media.
The best thing that you can do is to find a show in a different area of the world than you, so you can find all of the things that make us different, but also the same.
Yes. Hell yes.
And then tolerators, you know it. There was a commercial at the beginning of the show about the Patreon. You know that the link tree is the key to all of the places that you can find to all the men I've tolerated before. And
send
if you
money.
send money. Send money. There's Venmos on the link. Send money. Or pay me money monthly and I'll spend more time with you.
Ooh.
But make sure that you're following us on Instagram, because big things are coming down the pike. And if you're interested in doing a partnership with To All the Men I've Tolerated Before, whether that be an ad swap, a guest spot, anything, you can reach us at menI'veToleratedBefore@gmail.com.
Reach out.
All right. Well, remember, tolerators, you don't have to smile through anything you're tolerating, including a world that, because you have a youthful and bright face, will make you feel like you're small and stupid and don't deserve your own power in this collective. Smiles are for joy. Hey everyone, it's Natalie, and I'm just here real quick to tell you that To All the Men I've Tolerated Before officially has merchandise. So if you're looking for a really great way to support the show and get our name out there so everyone can be on Team Tolerator, consider following the link in our show notes or in the bio of our Instagram at Men I've Tolerated Pod, so you can buy one of our title tees or see some of our holiday lines, like our feminist spooky line that includes t-shirts like Misogyny is Monstrous or My Past Relationships Still Haunt Me, with a beautiful haunted house on it. Happy spooky season, have a great day, and go shopping and treat yourself. You deserve it.